O eternal and almighty God, from whom all power and wisdom come, we are assembled here before thee to frame such laws as may tend to the welfare and prosperity of our province. Grant, O merciful God, we pray thee, that we may desire only that which is in accordance with thy will, that we may seek it with wisdom, know it with certainty, and accomplish it perfectly for the glory and honor of thy name and the welfare of all our people. Amen. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Oete, Dene, Tsuut'ina, and Neothog nations. We acknowledge Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Please be seated. Orders of the day, private members' business. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
On House business.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader on House business.
Honourable Speaker, pursuant to Rule 34, Bracket 8, I am announcing that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of a private member's business will be one put forward by the Honourable Member for Morden Winkler. The title of the resolution is Addictions, Recovery and Treatment.
Thank you. It has been announced that pursuant to Rule 34, Bracket 8, that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private member's business will be the one put forward by the Honourable Member for Morden Winkler. The title of the resolution is Addictions, Recovery and Treatment. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Yes, on House business, please.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader on House business.
Yes, Honourable Speaker, if you could please call Bill 227, the Free Trade and Mobility Within Canada Act.
It's been announced that we will now proceed to second reading of Bill 227, the Free Trade and Mobility Within Canada Act. The Honourable Member for Midland.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the Member for Portage-La Prairie, that Bill 227, the Free Trade and Mobility Within Canada Act, be now read a second time and be referred to a committee of this House.
It's been moved by the Honourable Member for Midland, seconded by the Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie, that Bill number 227, the Free Trade and Mobility Within Canada Act, be now read a second time and be referred to a committee of this House. The Honourable Member for Midland.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, our PC team is taking action where this NDP government has failed. I am pleased to have introduced this timely and important bill for Manitoba, the Free Trade and Labour Mobility Within Canada Act. The time is now to make a legislative commitment to removing trade barriers across our country and embracing labour mobility in Manitoba. The NDP has had ample time over the past number of months to bring forward similar legislation, but have failed to do so. Industry, business leaders, and Manitobans across our great province are calling for this legislation, and we are pleased to respond to that call. As we know, interprovincial trade barriers have been a long-standing issue that has weakened Canada's economic independence and have limited our ability to do business within our own country. These barriers have impeded market access on goods and services while limiting workers' ability to easily cross provincial borders for employment. Differing provincial regulations on goods and services make it difficult for businesses to export their goods across the country, where it is often more efficient and simpler simpler to trade south of the border than to a neighboring province. In addition, differing certifications and licensing requirements across our provinces limit the mobility of workers. This is what this bill hopes to address, Honourable Speaker. This bill will enshrine Manitoba's commitment to removing those interprovincial trade barriers and embraces labour mobility with any reciprocating jurisdiction in Canada. Although interprovincial trade barriers have been a long-standing challenge, this bill is timely, as there is a renewed commitment from political leaders across our country to eliminate these trade barriers. Several provinces have already begun this process. As I mentioned, the NDP has had ample time to bring legislation like this forward, but has failed to make any meaningful commitments, as has become a pattern with this NDP government. They are all talk and no action, all words and no follow-through. They will stand in front of a camera and talk about trade barriers, but they lack the follow-through and they fail to commit in any meaningful way. And this is exactly what we have seen when it comes to Manitoba's trade strategy, or lack thereof, Honourable Speaker. As a result, Manitoba is behind other provinces. The US and China tariffs have brought our need to reduce our reliance on foreign markets and to support the goods, services, and people that make our province and our country great. An RBC analysis has shown that internal trade barrier costs are greater for smaller provinces like Manitoba, and those provinces could experience larger gains in GDP per capita and employment with the removal of non-geographic trade barriers. As mentioned earlier, this NDP has had ample time to address this and bring forward legislation and have failed to follow through on this, and as a result, Manitoba is behind other provinces in this country. Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houstons paved the road in February by passing very similar legislation to Bill 227 that we have brought forward today. Again, last week, Prince Edward Island introduced similar legislation to eliminate unnecessary barriers to trade and labor mobility with reciprocating jurisdictions. Again, very consistent with the legislation we have brought forward. And just yesterday, Premier Doug Ford tabled their legislation that would dismantle Ontario's trade barriers with reciprocating provinces. In fact, Ontario has signed an MOU with Nova Scotia and with Prince Edward Island because they had legislation in place. So Manitoba again has been left behind because this premier has failed to take action on this issue, has failed to take this issue seriously, and failed to bring forward meaningful legislation to date. At a time of market volatility and economic uncertainty with our largest trading partner, it would be irresponsible of this NDP government not to support this bill that we have brought forward. Other provinces are legislating their commitments to removing barriers and embracing labour mobility, and it's time that this NDP government gets on board. Manitoba is one of the provinces that could have the most to gain. According to federal estimates, eliminating interprovincial trade barriers could boost the Canadian economy by $200 billion and lower prices by up to 15%. In a report released by the Montreal Economic Institute in 2021, had barriers been completely removed, Manitoba's GDP per capita would be nearly $5,000 higher compared to the status quo. Each person in Manitoba could be $5,000 richer if Manitoba eliminates these interprovincial trade barriers. This is why it is so puzzling, Honourable Speaker, that this NDP is not moving forward on this issue. In fact, in their most recent budget, the NDP government actually implied that labour mobility threatens Manitoba jobs, despite that we have a skilled worker shortage here in Manitoba. And while labour mobility is one of the greatest barriers to interprovincial trade in Manitoba, but it's one where Manitoba could benefit the most. So the NDP's budget is saying the exact opposite of what this NDP and this premier is saying in front of the cameras. Experts have said that Manitoba is one of the provinces with the most to gain by removing barriers to labor mobility. The increased competition could drive wages up, while we could see a net increase in jobs that we greatly need here in the province. The NDP have clearly missed the mark again, and their ideology is getting in the way of Manitoba's true economic potential. With the current environment of global trade and continued economic uncertainty for our province, it would be irresponsible of this NDP government to not support this bill today and to fast-track it for passage in this spring session. This is, Honourable Speaker, a nonpartisan bill that will benefit all Manitobans. It will benefit Manitoba businesses and will address the labor shortages that we are seeing and that we in Manitoba are having challenges filling. So if this NDP government truly does support removing interprovincial trade barriers for Manitoba, if what they are saying in the media is in fact true, then they should vote for this bill today and fast track it for passage in this spring session, as other provinces have done. I want to make it very clear, Honourable Speaker, that this bill is directly related to reciprocating jurisdictions that are also removing their trade barriers. So Manitoba, under the leadership of Brian Pallister, passed the New West Trade Partnership a few years ago, which significantly improved our trade of goods, services, and manufactured products across our provinces to the west. However, we do still have a significant amount of barriers out east. And with Premier Doug Ford introducing their legislation yesterday, the time is now for Manitoba to pass this bill, as it would then be a reciprocating jurisdiction. So as I've mentioned, Honourable Speaker, if this NDP government truly does support removing interprovincial trade barriers, and they do truly support embracing labour mobility to fill those skilled worker shortages that we are seeing here in Manitoba, then they should pass this bill today and fast track it for passage in this spring session. As I mentioned, this is a nonpartisan bill. We need to stand together. If this NDP government truly wants to be a part of Team Canada, then join other premiers and other leaders across this country in passing this type of legislation, as those other premiers have already done. Let us stand united to boost our economic growth, to create jobs, and to build a more prosperous, united Canadian economy. Honourable Speaker, I will again reiterate that this legislation is timely. There is a renewed commitment to reducing interprovincial trade barriers and embracing labour mobility, and it's time that this NDP government gets on board.
A question period of up to 10 minutes will be held. Questions may be addressed to the sponsoring member by any member in the following sequence. First question to be asked by a member from another party. This is to be followed by a rotation between the parties. Each independent member may ask one question, and no question or answer shall exceed 45 seconds. The floor is now open for questions. The Honourable Member for Tuxedo.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our government is proud to say that we're advocating for Manitoban jobs and our economy. After Brian Pallister's government closed down the Washington Trade Office, we are proud to be reinstating it. Can the member opposite explain why that decision was made to close that with our largest trading partner, and how that is supportive of Manitoba and our economy? And how is that an effective trade strategy?
The Honourable Member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, just to set the record straight, there was no physical office in DC, so there was nothing to officially close. Premier Brian Pallister, former Premier of Manitoba, made incredible headways in reducing interprovincial trade barriers across our country by signing on to the New West Trade Partnership, which then this NDP government did not support. So if this Premier is actually serious about expanding our trade across the country to reduce our reliance on the U.S. and on international markets, then they should have no problem supporting this bill today.
The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I want to congratulate the member from Midland for bringing this important bill and time is of the essence on this bill. So when we talk, Honourable Speaker, when we talk about this bill, why is it needed right now at this time?
The honourable member for Midland.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I appreciate the question from my colleague here, who also seconded this bill, because he knows, as well as all of my colleagues on this side of the House, know how critical it is to put a commitment in legislation to enshrine a commitment to remove interprovincial trade barriers. Experts have said that by removing interprovincial trade barriers, it could boost the Canadian economy by up to $200 billion. If the past few months have shown anything, it's that Canada needs to have economic independence, and we need to reduce our reliance on foreign markets. And this is exactly what this bill addresses. It ensures that we have the ability to trade across our provincial borders and to do business in our own country.
The honourable member for Tuxedo.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This bill greatly impacts businesses and labour in our province and can have long-lasting effects on our economy and the workforce in Manitoba, like previous cuts made to our healthcare system impacting the healthcare workforce. So my question to the member opposite is, who did they consult while creating this bill?
The honourable member for Midland.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And the member for Tuxedo is right that this will greatly impact businesses and Manitobans in the country in a positive way. And this is what experts are saying. Industry groups across the province and across Canada have called for this type of legislation to be implemented, and we are answering that call. We have consulted with the Chambers of Commerce, we've consulted with business groups and industry leaders who support the passage of this bill. In fact, the Manitoba Chamber of Commerce signed an open letter with other chambers across the country calling on premiers to put in this type of legislation to remove interprovincial trade barriers. In addition, the Canadian Federation for Independent Business actually put out a statement this week in support of the bill that we have brought forward. Manitobans...
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. And as the member from Midland has articulated, this is a very important bill that's going to impact our economy and bring great economic impacts to Manitoba. So I'm wondering if the member could answer, why hasn't the Canoe government introduced an interprovincial free trade bill like this of their own?
Honourable member for Midland.
I thank my colleague for that question, and that's a question that I have as well. Over the past number of weeks that we've been sitting in this legislature, we in fact have asked the Premier if he was going to be bringing legislation like this forward following the successes of Nova Scotia and PEI, and we did not get a response. This seems like a logical bill to bring forward. As I mentioned, it is nonpartisan, it is timely, and time is of the essence to have this. And this is why, if this NDP government is truly in favor of removing interprovincial trade barriers, then they'll support this bill today and fast track it for passage this spring session.
The honourable member for Tuxedo.
On this side of the House, Honourable Speaker, we've been very clear since the beginning. We're on Team Canada. With the tariffs coming from the Trump administration, we've got to keep a united front and support our fellow Manitobans and Canadians. My question to the member opposite is, why did the member for Fort White thank Donald Trump from these tariffs, and does she share his belief?
The honourable member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, this member opposite knows that that is not true. We have stood up time and time again in this House and in this legislature questioning those decisions from U.S. and China. We can't forget about China. I know the members opposite want to shine a light on the U.S., but the fact is that we're in a trade war with two different jurisdictions right now, and Manitoba is struggling as a result of that. But this is exactly why we are bringing this legislation forward. So I ask the member, if she truly believes that we should have less reliance on the U.S. market, then will she support this bill that we've brought forward today?
The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Honourable Speaker, we have all seen in this House the request from CAP, Keystone Agriculture Producers, wanting this free trade agreement and this trade agreement in between provincial governments. How much will this mean for the Manitoba and Canadian economy?
Honourable member for Midland.
Yeah, I thank my colleague for the question, and like him, both of us have spent predominantly majority of our careers within the agriculture sector, so we know how much of a positive impact this would have for Manitoba farmers, but also for Manitoba agri-food businesses in general to be able to ship our goods east and west a lot easier with the removal of these exceptions and restrictions on our trade within our province of Manitoba. So as I mentioned, experts have said that this could boost the Canadian economy by $200 billion, and a Montreal Economic Institute has said that this could add $5,000 into the pocket of every single Manitoban if we were to move forward with eliminating trade barriers within Manitoba and across Canada with reciprocating jurisdictions.
The honourable member for Tuxedo.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Manitoba is known for its strong labour and environmental standards. Can the member opposite tell us whether this bill puts these high standards at risk?
The honourable member for Midland.
I thank the member for the question, and I hope that she actually did read the bill, because no, it does not put any sort of standards at risk. All this does is it speeds up and streamlines the process for people to be able to move into Manitoba. And I know the member opposite comes from the healthcare sector. She knows that we have a healthcare shortage right now, and so I would fully anticipate that they would support more nurses and more healthcare professionals coming into the province of Manitoba. Does she not want us to speed up that process?
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. And again, the member from Midland brings forward a fantastic bill for Manitobans to benefit from. Not only Manitobans, but Canadians. And I heard the member from Tuxedo say that we stand on Team Canada. Speaking of Team Canada, does the federal government support this?
The honourable member for Midland.
Thanks, Honourable Speaker. And yes, the federal government supports this. In fact, all political leaders across this great country are supporting the removal of interprovincial trade barriers. And as I've mentioned, those leaders have already taken, those premiers across the country have already taken those steps to implement legislation to enshrine that commitment in their provinces. That's where this premier has failed, because he has failed to bring forward legislation. We've seen Nova Scotia, PEI, British Columbia, and as of yesterday, Ontario bring forward legislation to enshrine that commitment. Will this NDP government step up to the plate, support this bill, and show that they really, truly are committed to removing interprovincial trade barriers across this country? Because if they don't support it, then it's all words and no action.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Tuxedo.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Canadians and Manitobans have stood strong in the face of Trump's tariff tax. Canada will always be the true north, strong and free. Can the member opposite please tell the House whether she agrees with the good people of Manitoba or the member for Borderland who wants Canada to become the 51st state?
The honourable member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, as I've said time and time again in this House, I am against tariffs. Free trade is the best approach, which is exactly why we are bringing this bill forward, because it enhances free trade in our country, so we reduce our reliance, our foreign reliance, on countries like the US and like China that have tariffs that are impacting Manitobans and Manitoba businesses as we speak. I question why this member does not seem to support a bill like this. If her premier and if her government truly support Canadian economic independence, then they should support this bill today, and they should fast track it for spring session. Yeah.
The time for questions has ended. The floor is now open for debate. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Glad to put some words on the record with respect to Bill 227, Free Trade and Mobility Within Canada Act. And be very clear, our government supports free trade. We want to advance free trade. We're very proud to be a leader in the nation when it comes to least amount of trade barriers. very happy about that record, and we want to make sure that we continue to be a leader when it comes to growing our economy and reducing those trade barriers. We've been working diligently with our federal and territorial partners over the past year to make sure that we do the work of bringing some of those trade barriers down. So even before the current U.S. President Donald Trump was in office, we were meeting with our partners around the country to work on projects that would strengthen our united Canadian economy. And so I know that there are a lot of discussion with this right now in the face of the tariff threat from Donald Trump and the tariff threat from China. But it's important to be clear that our government has prioritized growing our economy and reducing barriers before this even was a mainstream issue talked about every day in the news or around the dinner table. And so for us, we've been working in unison with our colleagues around the country on some very specific areas. One around labor mobility, one around harmonization and mutual recognition of goods and services, and also to make sure that we actually promote free trade and trade missions and understanding how we can strengthen our supply chains as well. So I can talk a little bit about that work that we've done, and I'm happy to represent Manitoba on that table of federal, provincial, and territorial leads on trade on that national scene. And so that is the CIT table, Council of Internal Trade. And those ministers, we do terrific work. We've been worked united and pushed aggressively to actually put down standards, work on projects, and unite our economy. Understanding that there are a variety, countless number of regulations and procedures and rules in each jurisdiction that vary, and understanding how we can harmonize those in a way that respects the independent authority of jurisdictions around the country, but also allows the free flow of goods, services, labor across the country, and still at the same time maintaining a high standard. And so for us, we are very focused on getting the job done, and we absolutely support free trade and advancing those efforts here. So before President Trump was sworn in, and this was a hot topic, we were already working on a trucking pilot. I'm very happy to make sure that Manitoba was one of the lead provinces that signed on to supporting a nationwide trucking project which would harmonize the standards for trucking and transport trailers right across the nation. This is an important work because we know that the flow of goods from, whether it's coming from the Port of Vancouver to the Port of Montreal, is an essential part of getting goods right across this country. This is the work that we're doing. So as we signed on to this project and being one of the leaders in doing so, we're advocating for that flow of good and reducing those barriers to make sure that trucks aren't stopped on the provincial border because of regulations that are unneeded. At the same time, we understand that there are geographical differences to some of the roads and highways, whether that's the mountains in BC or across in the prairies or throughout Quebec and the Maritimes. So we have to respect that as well and understand how we can do that in the most effective way. And at the same time, we understand that it's important for us to understand how we move the goods and services, and understanding that there are differences in packaging and differences in labeling between provinces and territories. And we want and are going to, and we're aiming to be a leader in terms of understanding how we can harmonize those rules with the same respect that we have for other jurisdictions, provinces and territories in Canada, with language rights and the ability to get things done in a way that works for all provinces and territories. Manitoba is going to continue to lead on that, and we're very happy to be a forceful voice around that table. And when it comes to labor mobility, Deputy Speaker, or Honourable Speaker, I think it's very important for us to understand that we want Manitobans, Canadians, to have the freedom to work across the province, to use their knowledge, their skills, their experience to benefit growing our national economy. Now, we're very fortunate in Manitoba to have one of the strongest workforce bases in the country, and I call us the leader in specialized manufacturing in the country, the national leader in specialized manufacturing. I think we do tremendous work here, whether it's from our agriculture sector, whether it's from transportation sector, where we are a hub being in the center of the country, or whether it's the fact that we have a northern port where we can use that to grow our economy. And as we break down trade barriers, we will then be able to leverage that, leverage the tools we have in the western provinces and throughout BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, to leverage all of those goods to put through our Port of Churchill so that we can access markets around the world faster, more affordable, giving ourselves a competitive advantage that we didn't otherwise have. That's why our government is so happy to continue to make that investment in the Port of Churchill and support our Manitoba economy, our Western Canadian, and our entire Canadian economy. Honourable Speaker, it's also important to note that I think these, as I mentioned earlier, this issue is coming to light because we know the tariff threat from China, from the United States of America is real. It's impacting our economy. And that's why it's important for us to continue to grow our economy together as Canadians, united front, and not play into the rhetoric that we're hearing from members opposite, the really unfortunate rhetoric, where we are perhaps endorsing Donald Trump, or we're even thanking him for his tariffs. I think that's really sad, because there's a lot of strong business owners that I know in Manitoba that I've heard from directly that are impacted in a severe way by the tariffs or the threat of tariffs. And I also know, Honourable Speaker, that there's no business for Manitobans thanking Donald Trump for those tariffs. And so it's incumbent on members opposite to think about the colleagues that are using that rhetoric and whether they should be calling out those members who do such things. And I think that I would urge them to take that step so we can continue to be united as Manitobans and united as Canadians to face the threat of Donald Trump's tariffs in the united front. And I think that is one of our strongest assets, doing so in unity. And so I think it's very important for us, and work that I've been doing, to work alongside Premier Houston, who I've had a chance to meet personally and discuss the issues around interprovincial trade barriers, and Premier Ford, who I've had a chance to meet last month, and we discussed interprovincial trade barriers and understanding how we can continue to work together to grow our economies and break down those very barriers which we're discussing here today. So this work is ongoing. It's ongoing in a real and meaningful way. And it's important for Manitobans to know and understand that our government is taking this issue very seriously. We're making real and meaningful progress on this. We are not distracted by harmful rhetoric coming from members opposite. Yep. And previous decisions that, quite frankly, our Manitoba economy has been paying for years. Decisions like closing down the U.S. Trade Office is a decision that our economy is still reeling from. This is our largest trading partner. 70%, over 70% of our exports in Manitoba go down to the United States of America. Doesn't it make sense for us to have a good trading relationship? There is a very positive, a very popular saying, that is, you must relate before you negotiate. And how are we supposed to relate if we don't have a trade office there to build connections, to build that understanding with our American partners? Whether that's visiting our friends in North Dakota or Minnesota, Illinois, or Nashville and Tennessee, California. These are all places who have massive economies that help to fuel the work that's done here by everyday Manitobans. And so as we continue to be a leader when it comes to breaking down interprovincial trade barriers, as it comes to being a leader around in the country, when it comes to growing our economy, we'll do that work in partnership with our colleagues around the country. We'll do so in partnership with Manitoba businesses. We'll do so in a way that helps all workers in Manitoba, because at the end of the day, we need workers to be putting their time, their talent, their energy into building this great province, into building this great nation. And I'm so glad to stand up to put these words on the record on behalf of all Manitobans.
The honourable member from Portage la Prairie.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Once again, I want to thank the member from Midland to bringing this important bill forward today and how important it is to fast-track this bill and get it moving. 78% of the pea protein that is manufactured in Portage la Prairie goes to the United States. They're contacting me and saying that business is gone. That business is gone unless we can move it to other provinces or other territories. 78%, 50 people will be out of work because we don't want to make this happen. When we look at the trucking industry, the restrictions across borders when we're trying to move products from one province to the other. When we look at the agriculture business, which I was in when the free trade agreement first came out, we need to look for other markets, and the best place to look for those markets are from within. When we look at some of the products that are impacted by this, we've heard from the potato industry here of cuts up to 30% in Manitoba on our potato industry. If we are not looking to other provinces where we can move things like potatoes, peas, canola, then we are going to miss out on opportunities. And it is not just about products, and it is not just about 1 year. When we lose that potato production, we have to earn it back. What is this government across the aisle doing to earn any of that back? This is a nonpartisan issue, as the member from Midland has also discussed. Last year, when we had the opportunity and the invite to go down to the United States and meet with different legislators, governors, senators, members of Congress about agriculture, the Minister of Agriculture spoke and said, "We're not going to do it." We begged 3 different times to make sure that our government and our opposition was represented properly at events like this. We met with as many people as we could, and I was proud to stand, not only to sing "O Canada," to show them how important Canada is to our country, but also to show how important that our products are to our country. Keystone Agriculture Producers has been begging the government to open up interprovincial barriers, and still nothing. When we talk about canola and interprovincial, between Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, we are the lion's share in the world of canola production. And we have to be looking at opportunities within our own province and within our western provinces as well, too, to be able to crush these products and make it into soy meal, canola meal, and oil that we can use not only within our province, but within other provinces here. This government seems to be making unilateral decisions on how agriculture products will be used and not used. And again, that's seen by companies like Avena. But it's not just them. It's companies like fertilizer companies like Coke in Brandon, Manitoba, that is one of the largest employers, not only in Manitoba, but in Canada. I want to let the other side of the bench know the Coke plant that is in Brandon, Manitoba, come from Italy. That come from Italy because they could not make a go of it there. Are we not concerned that that plant could move away, and by imposing these barriers and not wanting to trade within Canada, we are leaving that up to fate. And when we hear about Donald Trump and the rhetoric that is coming from the other side about that, is there any more unilateral decisions that can be made by this premier to not want to deal interprovincially? When we talk about agriculture that I feel comfortable talking about, and we hear of talks with meeting with Minister Houston, when we hear about talks with meeting with the people from the United States, that doesn't mean joining them at the state fair. It's about finding new business opportunities that we have. I want to make sure that we get to a vote on this today so that we can fast track this. So I'll just say this. This is a nonpartisan issue. This affects every Manitoban. Let's get this done. Let's open up these provincial barriers. Thank you so much.
The honourable member for St. Boniface.
Honourable Speaker, great news. Manitoba is open for business, and we're going to build. Right on. In fact, Honourable Speaker, Manitoba has been open for business since time immemorial, and I really want to, shed light on the fact that for time immemorial, for thousands of years, First Nations have been trading across this great continent, and the Red River Métis, also very entrepreneurial, were the kings of the prairies and used to trade north, south, east, west, and that spirit actually is what brought Manitoba into Confederation. So we're going to build. It's in our budget. I don't know if the MLA for Midland has had the chance to read the budget, or anyone on that side for that matter. It's Education Week. I don't know what the literacy level is on that side, but I encourage them to read the budget. And I really want to thank the Premier for the leadership that he's taken on this file. He's on Team Canada. We're on Team Canada. I also want to thank the Minister of Business, the Minister of Finance. They've been doing great work. And honestly, Honourable Speaker, we are on the side of Manitobans. We're going to invest in $3.7 billion of infrastructure projects to build up our economy here in Manitoba. And that's what we're all about. In fact, we're the Keystone Province. We have been for 155 years. We've been trading east and west for that long. And that's why 100 years ago we were known as the Paris of the North, the Chicago of the North. But, it doesn't take much imagination. And I know that sometimes things that come out of that side of the chamber baffle even the most vivid of imaginations. But we're a maritime province. We're a maritime province, Honourable Speaker. And we're involved right now in nation building. In fact, the leader of Nunavut was here just yesterday, and we're going to build trade corridors east and west, as well as with Nunavut. We're going to bring clean hydro power to Nunavut. While the members on the other side are talking about, let's build pipelines. We need pipelines. We need them now. It's like, we need to get on this now. Let's build a clean economy, right? Because once again, the one-dimensional thinking that goes on that side baffles even the most vivid of imagination. In fact, I don't even know if it's one-dimensional. I think it's negative dimensional, right? And it's funny when we hear about, it's urgent, we need to get on this. Yes, it's urgent. It's urgent that we work together to build our economy. And what I really enjoy about this building, in fact, and every time I come up to this building, I see the Golden Boy facing north. Why? Because our resources, our minerals, our ports, it's all in northern Manitoba. And I think that members on the other side will appreciate that the backside of the Golden Boy, the rump, faces in the general direction of Mr. Trump. And I think that's very apropos right now, where we're at here at this time in the history of Manitoba. So we're a maritime province, and I think the fact that our Premier, our Minister of Business, our Minister of Finance, and the rest of our team are working on a One Manitoba, Team Manitoba approach, that's how we're going to get things done. Mais, Monsieur l'Honorable Président, les tarifs imposés par le gouvernement américain constituent une attaque contre le Canada et contre le Manitoba. Et nous devons protéger notre économie avec une approche d'équipe Canada, une approche canadienne, Monsieur l'Honorable Président. Alors que l'ancien gouvernement PC qui a échoué a nuit aux entreprises manitobaines, nous avons toujours défendu l'engagement du Manitoba à maintenir un front uni. Notre gouvernement néo-démocrate continuera toujours à se battre pour protéger les emplois ici au Manitoba et bâtir une meilleure économie afin que tous les Manitobains puissent mener une vie de qualité, Monsieur l'Honorable Président. Nous nous engageons à collaborer avec les autres provinces, comme le fait notre Premier ministre et le gouvernement fédéral, pour éliminer les obstacles au commerce interprovincial. Nous verrons également donner la priorité aux entreprises canadiennes grâce à notre loi sur l'achat canadien. L'Honorable Président, notre équipe est pro-canadienne. Les conservateurs sont pro-Trump. Dès le premier jour de la guerre tarifaire de Trump, le député de Fort White a remercié, Monsieur l'Honorable Président, c'est loufoque, a remercié le président Trump pour les avoir imposés. Il a déclaré, Monsieur l'Honorable Président, Trump voulait une victoire et je pense qu'une de ces victoires évidentes et aussi pour beaucoup de Canadiens, c'était un changement de gouvernement fédéral. Il voulait que JT parte et Dieu merci, il est parti. Alors, quelle influence a eu la menace des tarifs à 25 % là-dessus? Je dirais beaucoup. Et je dirais merci. Je dirais merci qu'il est parti. Et ce, du député de Fort White qui remercie le président Trump pour son ingérence dans la politique canadienne. C'est dur à croire, Monsieur l'Honorable Président. Ensuite, le député de la Vérandie a rompu avec notre approche d'équipe Canada et a rejoint celle du député de Fort White, écrivant que nous ne devrions pas imposer de contre-tarifs parce que la seule certitude que l'on peut tirer de représailles, c'est qu'elles pousseront le président à augmenter les tarifs dans les jours à venir. Incroyable, incroyable, monsieur là. Et ce, du député de la Vérandrie. Et ses propres électeurs de la Vérandrie n'étaient pas d'accord. Dans une lettre ouverte, Menrad Signer de Kleefeld, Manitoba, dans la circonscription de la Vérandrie, a écrit « Puisque nous connaissons la tempête économique qui se dirige contre notre pays dans le but de nous soumettre, nous avons deux façons de réagir, avec faiblesse ou avec force, Monsieur l'Honorable Président. Le député de la Vérandrie recommande la faiblesse. Notre gouvernement prend une approche pro-canadienne, une approche manitobaine, et nous allons bâtir, Monsieur l'Honorable Président. Alors, ensuite, parlons du député de Brandon West, a annoncé un partenariat avec une organisation pro-Trump qui a récemment déclaré « Loué soit le Seigneur, Alléluia, Trump », et ce, du député de Brandon West. Absolument époustouflant, Monsieur l'Honorable Président. Absolument même, si j'ose le dire, ridicule. L'Honorable Président, notre gouvernement est un leader et s'engage à réduire les barrières commerciales interprovinciales comme un outil clé pour répondre aux tarifs de Trump. Nous ouvrons la voie pour créer davantage d'emplois aux Manitobains pour s'assurer que les Manitobains et les Manitobaines ont accès à de bons emplois pour bâtir une économie encore plus forte, l'Honorable Président. Voici certaines des mesures que nous prenons. Collaboration avec d'autres provinces. On voit que notre Premier ministre y est souvent au travail. Et nous allons collaborer sur les ventes bilatérales directes de boissons alcoolisées aux consommateurs, priorisant de la reconnaissance mutuelle pour réduire la paperasserie inutile. Et nous allons travailler avec d'autres juridictions pour alléger le fardeau administratif et adopter une norme nationale de services pour la mobilité de la main-d'œuvre. C'est le travail que nous allons faire, Monsieur l'honorable président. Nous avons le plus faible nombre d'exemptions de toutes les juridictions au Manitoba et nous continuons à réduire celles-ci pour améliorer le commerce interprovincial et faire croître l'économie du Manitoba. Une économie, d'ailleurs, Monsieur l'honorable président, et les membres de l'autre côté de la Chambre devraient le savoir, une économie qui est non seulement bilingue, mais qui peut travailler avec d'autres économies, d'autres pays, avec l'Union européenne. D'ailleurs, les ambassadeurs de l'Union européenne étaient ici tout dernièrement et ils nous ont demandé quand est-ce qu'on peut s'attendre à d'autres échanges commerciaux avec l'Europe. Alors, nous sommes ouverts d'est en ouest, nord-sud, nous sommes même ouverts avec d'autres continents, d'autres économies émergentes, et c'est cette approche que nous allons prendre. Je m'imagine que les membres de l'autre côté de la Chambre en ce moment se sentent très vulnérables parce qu'ils savent qu'ils sont en train de perdre la bataille. Les Manitobains ne sont pas en train de les écouter. Nous avons le premier ministre le plus populaire au Canada en ce moment. Les Manitobains et les Manitobaines sont à l'écoute de nos travaux et nous sommes à l'écoute des Manitobains et des Manitobaines aussi. Alors, merci, l'honorable président. Et encore une fois, nous allons bâtir un meilleur Manitoba pour tous les Manitobains. Merci, l'honorable président.
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. And I just wanted to put a few comments on record about the proposal that's being brought forward. Through my last number of months of traveling throughout North America and spending the time down in the U.S. side, and opportunity at the SARL Convention is one example of the great trading relationship we have. And it's unfortunate that we've been challenged by the President of the USA of the great working relationships that we've developed. And in fact, just last week, I attended the Manitoba Pork Council, and I had the privilege to sit with a delegate from Iowa Pork, emphasizing the importance of our trade relationships that we have with Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota. We have Minneapolis, Minnesota. So the opportunity is that we need to continue to work for the benefit of agriculture, the province's economy moving forward in the long run. I know member opposite from Portage la Prairie tends to want to get some attention, so he'll be squawking once in a while, I would say, but kind of like the magpies of the world, so to speak. But definitely I see the importance, and we need to continue to focus on the importance of economic development, Honourable Speaker, and I truly appreciate the opportunity. But I want to bring forward some points that obviously when the previous government that was in charge for 7.5 years. And what we've really witnessed, and my favorite subject is, and obviously the members opposite are quite familiar with my favorite subject is when I get up to speak about agriculture, is the challenges of the young agriculture producers in this province had to deal with and continue to deal with the changing of the opportunities that really neglected their chance of a family farm to continue because they chose to allocate Crown lands with the size of the check. Nothing to do with the grandparents or the parents' time that they put into that real estate for the benefit of the agriculture industry in those designated areas. Honourable Speaker, I stress this importance because I really feel, because I spent 40 years of my life witnessing how important agriculture Crown lands is in the province of Manitoba. And those opposition party under the previous government, with a stroke of a pen, took that right away for young generational farmers. And honestly, Honourable Speaker, what makes small towns grow is population, not size of corporations that take over massive land opportunities, that take away the right of generational farms, and yet members opposite subconsciously do not feel guilty of that decision. And what's really ironic about all this is if that was so important, why did Saskatchewan or Alberta, where they have Crown land, chose not to do the same direction? What that government chose to do is take a North Dakota model and felt that that was sufficient enough to warrant taking away a young individual's life of working on the family farm that's been in the family farm for 100 and some odd years, Honourable Speaker. And yet they turn around and want to hide behind a decision that which they really felt was important. Well, to this day, when you have 250 representatives come out to a town hall meeting and not one of those across even attended that meeting, simply because of its sheer embarrassment by a decision or by the greed of a working relationship of an undercurrent to only benefit a corporate farm opportunities and take away the values of opportunities for the young agriculture producers in our province. And to me, small communities are the
Order,
lifeblood.
please. The member for Portage-La Prairie will come to order. Just because he turns his back, he thinks I don't know that it's him. He will stop. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I get so passionate talking about it. I come from a community where small communities is the lifeblood of support of the rural agriculture area. We're seeing communities now dying simply because that freedom, that choice, that dream that the son or daughter had to become an agriculture producer was taken away simply by a change of a policy that does not even exist in Saskatchewan and Alberta. And they talk about that's fairness, but they took a North Dakota model so to be the right wing, much like the Trump scenario that we're facing right now. Is that the model that that party across wants agriculture to go in the long run and provide economic spin-off for rural communities? We are not in that position whatsoever, Honourable Speaker, and we will continue as a government to help out rural economic development, rural economic opportunities. So I will say this, keeping our Crown lands freeze, we will continue until we have appropriate consultation and we talk to the people that are doing it today, and to me that is full transparency of communication with the agriculture sector, such as the Crown lands opportunity. That to me is the way it should have been done, not by a decision on a stroke of a pen and say to the generational farmers, sorry, you no longer have the authority of the Crown land. You do whatever you choose to do, but unfortunately you will not have the opportunity to market. Investing. We invested $140 million in business risk program. And obviously because of the tariff scenario, Honourable Speaker, we are standing up for agriculture, we're standing up for business opportunities, added value opportunities exist in agriculture, and we're only at the tip of the iceberg of opportunity in agriculture, and our intent is we build more towards the agriculture sector in the long run, and we will continue as a government to fight towards the benefit of
Order, please. When this matter is again before the House, the Honourable Minister will have 3 minutes remaining. The hour is now 11 a.m. and the time for private members' resolutions. The resolution before us this morning is the resolution on resolution number 9, recognizing. Order, please. Recognizing Providence University College and Theological Seminary's 100th centennial anniversary, brought forward by the Honourable Member for La Vérendrye. The Honourable Member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, seconded by the member for Lakeside, Therefore, be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba recognize and congratulate Providence University College and Theological Seminary on its 100th anniversary and commend its enduring contributions to higher education, leadership, and faith-based learning in the province.
Been moved by the honourable member for La Vérendrye, seconded by the honourable member for Lakeside, that therefore be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba recognize and congratulate Providence University College and Theological Seminary on its 100th anniversary and commend its enduring contributions to higher education, leadership, and faith-based learning in the province. The honourable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to Kent and Ron, who we have with us here today in the gallery. Honourable Speaker, it is a great honour to stand in this House and bring forward a resolution that recognizes the remarkable Providence University College and Theological Seminary's 100th anniversary. For a century, Providence has been a beacon of learning and faith, shaping the lives of countless students who have passed through its doors, and I am proud to have this remarkable institution situated in the great constituency of La Vérendrye. Founded in 1925, Providence University College began as a small educational institution grounded in Christian principles. Its founders envisioned a place where faith and economics could coexist, fostering an environment for personal, intellectual, and spiritual growth. Over the decades, Providence has evolved, expanding and adapted to the changing needs of society while remaining true to its core mission: to develop students who are not only knowledgeable but also committed to serving others in their communities. And that they do. I think it is safe to say that the mission of Providence is directly in line with who we are as Manitobans, and it is so refreshing to hear that students attending this school are going into our communities and making them a better place. The college is committed to fostering an environment where students are encouraged to explore their potential and develop their unique gifts. This is accomplished through rigorous academic programs, vibrant campus life, and opportunities for community involvement. Students are empowered to engage thoughtfully in the world around them, preparing them for both professional careers and meaningful lives rooted in Christian values. From its early years in a modest building to its current vibrant campus in Otterburn, Providence has sure come a long way. The college first started on Spence Street right here in Winnipeg, where it continued to grow before finding itself at the current 100-acre vast campus in Otterburn, and now expanding back to its roots with a downtown Winnipeg campus. Along with growth and expansion has come many name changes to most closely represent the institution. The name hadn't become Providence College until 1958, and in 1996 was changed to Providence University College, highlighting the expansion into more comprehensive undergraduate institution. Over the years, Providence has expanded its academic offerings significantly, establishing a diverse range of undergraduate programs across disciplines. The college now offers bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in fields such as arts, business, social sciences, and theology, each designed to integrate faith with academic rigor. A student's educational experience can develop much further than the degree offered through the university college, and students are able to lay the groundwork to pursue an education in anything from nursing to law. Innovative learning has been a pillar in developing Providence throughout its history. Providence has continually embraced new methodologies and technologies in education. The commitment to innovative teaching strategies, experiential learning, and community engagement has prepared students to meet the challenges of today's world. Providence has always prioritized service to others. From local outreach initiatives to international missions, the college has equipped students to make meaningful contributions to their communities. The transformative projects and partnerships formed over the years have reflected the institution's deep commitment to service and social justice. Throughout its history, Providence has welcomed students from various cultural backgrounds, creating a diverse and inclusive campus environment. This diversity enriches the learning experience and promotes understanding and collaboration among its students. What truly makes Providence special is its people. The dedication of faculty and staff has been instrumental in fostering an environment where students can thrive academically and spiritually. I've been able to see this firsthand as someone touring the campus for the first time and not knowing anyone. Whether you are walking through the William Falk Library or the Reimer Student Life Center, you will see students interacting with professors that care about not only the education of their students, but also the future of them. Their unwavering support, mentorship, and commitment to student success have created a legacy of excellence. The success of their approach to education can easily be recognized when talking about alumni. Providence alumni have gone on to make significant contributions in various fields, including education, business, healthcare, and ministry. They carry the values instilled in them during their time at Providence, making a lasting impact on their communities around the world. As we celebrate this centennial, we honor the leaders, innovators, and changemakers who have emerged from this institution. Each story adds a unique chapter to the Providence legacy, illustrating the enduring influence of a Providence education. As we celebrate the past, it is also important to look to the future with hope and excitement. If the past can be a guiding light for the future of Providence, I'm excited to see the growth. This is an institution that has been able to weather the test of time. Through the past 100 years, everything across our great province has changed. This includes everything from the customs of how we interact to the way education is delivered in a classroom. During this time, the landscape of our province has truly changed. We have seen floods and droughts, economic depression and boom, global pandemics and war. But what has stayed the same is the guiding mission of Providence and the quality of education that is delivered. The next 100 years present new challenges and opportunities. I know that Providence will continue to invest in innovative programs, forge partnerships with other institutions, and explore new avenues to serve their students and the community better. We have seen this recently and throughout their history. Most notably are the aircraft pilot program together with Harv's Aaron Steinbach, and most recently, the practical nursing program together with Southern Health and the Assiniboine Community College. Now, I have seen firsthand how both of these programs have shaped the lives of many Manitobans. It is a willingness to adapt and the forward thinking to grow that makes programs like these possible. With an emphasis on experiential learning, interdisciplinary studies, and global engagement, Providence will empower the next generation of leaders equipped to navigate the complexities of our ever-changing world. As I reflect now on the accomplishments of Providence University College and the expansive offerings in education, I think it is appropriate that Providence receives its deserved recognition by providing it with full university status. In 2023, the former PC government sponsored a private members bill seeking full university status to coincide with the anniversary we are celebrating today. Providence has touched the lives of thousands of students, educators, and community members, instilling in them the values of faith, integrity, and service. Let us honor the legacy of Providence by continuing to support and nurture this institution, ensuring it thrives for generations to come. Here is to 100 years of excellence and to many more years of transforming lives through education and faith. Thank you, Providence University, for being part of a bright and strong future in Manitoba.
Hear, hear.
Before we move on to questions, I would like to draw the attention of all honorable members to the public gallery, where we have with us Dr. Ken Anderson, President, Providence University College and Theological Seminary, and Mr. Ron Hogue, Vice President Advancement, Providence University College and Theological Seminary, who are the guests of the honorable member for La Vérendrye. A question period of up to 10 minutes will be held, and questions may be addressed in the following sequence. The first question may be asked by a member from another party. Any subsequent questions must follow a rotation between parties. Each independent member may ask one question, and no question or answer shall exceed 45 seconds. The honourable member for Transcona.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Post-secondary institutions make invaluable contributions to our province. Celebrating 100 years of educating Manitoba leaders of tomorrow, what contributions have Providence University College made that has impacted the member opposite the most?
The honourable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and thank you for the member across the way for Transcona for the great question. As Providence University College is situated in La Vérendrye, I see the leaders within my community and the communities around us, how they've been impacted by those leaders receiving education through Providence University College. Further to that, most recently, the nursing program that was carried out through the university has had tremendous impact in local nurses obtaining their training and going on to practicing in Southeast Manitoba.
The honourable member for Borderland.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague and friend, the member for La Vérendrye, for bringing this important bill forward, and also welcome our guests to the chamber today. I'd like to ask my colleague whether he can talk about what inspired him to bring this resolution forward.
The honourable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and thank you to my colleague for Borderland for the question. Part of my role as an MLA is to advocate for my constituents, and that includes those attending and working at Providence University College. Similar to the question from the member for Transcona, I've been able to see firsthand the impact that this university college has had on Manitobans. It's a unique education institution providing a faith-based education delivery, shaping the lives of many Manitobans in a unique way that's able to provide them.
The member's time has expired. The honourable member for Transcona.
Thank you. Just building on what the member opposite has said, they've talked about the uniqueness of Providence College. Can you talk about that uniqueness in terms of how it's impacted your constituency directly?
The honourable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the member from Transcona for that question. Definitely, there are many examples. Providence University College has a presence in the community. The administration plays a vital role in community development. The organizations and activities that are carried out in those communities, and the students are encouraged to be part of the constituency and the community that that constituency includes. So it has had a beneficial impact on La Vérendrye.
I'll remind all honorable members to direct comments through the chair. The honorable member for Morton Winkler.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. It's an honor for me to speak on this today. Providence College has had a big impact in my community, and as well as a lot of people that I love that have been able to go to school there. Can the members share with the House what the impact has been having Providence University College located in his constituency and in the province of Manitoba?
The honorable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I think the impact to Manitoba has been significant. This institution has been able to provide a unique educational experience, providing the academic groundwork, but also the faith knowledge that helps to shape good community members that go out into all areas of our great province.
The honorable member for Transcona.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. My question for the member opposite is how will they be celebrating the centennial anniversary of Providence University College?
The honorable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you to the member from Transcona for that question. This fall, there is going to be an extravagant display of celebration at the University College's, Providence University College's campus, at the beautiful campus in Otterburn. And I encourage everyone to attend and join me in celebrating the great accomplishments of this institution.
Hear, hear.
The honorable member for Steinbach.
Speaker, thank my friend from La Vérendrye for this resolution. The former member for Rossmere brought forward a bill to give full status, university status, to Providence College, which almost passed the House. It got to third reading. Can the member explain why he thinks now it's important that Providence College Seminary University fully attain that full status?
The honorable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the member from Steinbach for that great question. I think this is the greatest time celebrating the centennial 100th anniversary of Providence College. There would be no better time to recognize the university for truly who it is and what it contributes. Full university status will achieve that, and I think the time is right for a well-deserving institution that has been a pillar of education in our province.
The honorable member for Transcona.
Thank you. Over their 7.5 years in government, the PC shrunk funding for public universities' operating grants by $14.2 million. Our government is investing in post-secondary education with stable, predictable funding because we know that when we invest in these institutions, we are investing in the future of Manitoba. My question for the member opposite, why did the PC government fail to adequately fund post-secondary education in Manitoba?
The honorable member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and I guess thank you to the member from Transcona for the slightly misleading question. But when our PC government was in power, Manitoba post-secondary institutions were funded to the tune of close to $1 billion, and Providence University College benefited from our government funding, including a record number of dollars towards scholarships and bursaries.
Seeing no further questions. Yes, sir. Member for Dawson Trail. Member for Steinbach.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Providence has a long reputation of doing a great job with international students, and not to make this political, I know that the NDP maybe hasn't prioritized the allocation of international students to places like Providence, but for the benefit of the government, in a non-political question, could the member describe the importance of international students for Providence and what a great job they do of training those students?
Honourable Member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. A great question. One thing that Providence University College does extremely well is train international students to go back and contribute to their communities around the world in a positive way. The impact to recent changes is significant for Providence. They've gone from having more than 1,500 international students to now around 100. The impact is significant. That's a significant impact to funding, and I encourage this NDP government to look to the importance of Providence University College and properly fund them in a deserving way.
The Honourable Member for Transcona.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Post-secondary education should be accessible to all students. However, students were forced to bear the brunt of the PC government's cuts to post-secondary education in Manitoba by paying higher costs and being left with fewer resources. My question for the member opposite is, why did they make post-secondary education less accessible for students in Manitoba by raising costs?
The Honourable Member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I'd like to reiterate that $1 billion was spent by our previous PC government towards universities and colleges, including Providence University College. I urge the member to make sure that the Minister of Advanced Education doesn't pick winners and losers when funding all post-secondary institutions. And remember, Providence University College in that funding model. Thank you.
Well, it's unfortunate, but the time for questions has expired. But the floor is open for debate. The Honourable Member for Kildonan River East.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's always an honour and a privilege to stand up in this House and put a few words on record on behalf of my constituents of Kildonan River East. Just want to give a huge shout out and acknowledgement through the chair, of course, but to the guests in the gallery that are here today for this big, exciting anniversary. 100 years is a huge accomplishment. So just wanted to, on behalf of our government, just celebrate and acknowledge that achievement. Acknowledge that Providence was the first Bible school in Canada to grant bachelor's degrees in 1948. That's a huge, significant milestone. To hear and learn more about the Centennial Celebration Weekend commemoration of this historic milestone this year. Really appreciate this being brought to the Chamber so we can highlight you folks and hear more about this. Providence University College and Seminary has reached this milestone, preparing leaders of tomorrow in Manitoba for 100 years. However, even though some folks across the way tried to say politely, muffle their comments by saying they're trying not to go political, they did, however. So we do have to acknowledge that the failed Pallister-Stephenson government failed to adequately fund all post-secondary education for 7.5 years, not cherry picking like they are accusing us of doing. And they managed to do was cut and freeze and interfere with collective bargaining that affected all institutions, especially and including one such as Providence. Unlike the previous government, our NDP government is investing in our post-secondary institutions with stable and predictable funding because we value what you bring to our province. So thank you for the work that you do each and every day to help, as I said, prepare leaders of tomorrow here in Manitoba. Faith-based institutions are doing good work on reconciliation. I know that this from interacting and speaking to a number of folks in the faith-based community. Just this past weekend, the member for Transcona and myself attended on behalf of the province at Calvin Christian dinner There was only us from the government side actually there. That was very interesting that no one from anyone else in the chamber from the other side was there with all of the talk about supporting faith-based institutions and education opportunities. But, you know, Calvin in particular had this very beautiful, touching land acknowledgement where they intertwined, you know, the right way to move forward on reconciliation, but still encompassing a lot of their faith-based biblical teachings. And it was really, really special and touching. And I mentioned in my remarks at the dinner that, you know, it was a bittersweet evening to be there, you know, just like 100, you know, the 100th anniversary of such an amazing thing such as the Providence celebration, was that this particular dinner was 65th anniversary. So institutions don't get to big milestones such as this without having, you know, bumps and hurdles along the way and making changes to keep up with changes in the times, such as incorporating reconciliation into the ways that they continue on with educating leaders of tomorrow. Last year, I attended with our late colleague, Minister Altamare, and he would always talk about how proud he was to be the MLA for one particular faith-based school in his area, and say, you know, how they had so many signs on the lawn for Orange Shirt Day, and how that particular school was doing the great work on reconciliation. So I know that Providence has been around for 100 great years, and you know, things have come this far because you are keeping up with the times and changing and learning and growing along. So we on behalf of our government, really appreciate your learning and growing and support of reconciliation. So again, we just want to definitely celebrate and acknowledge this huge milestone. I know that sometimes it can feel like we're alone on this faith journey and not everyone is in support, but I think that a lot of folks, you know, express their different, you know, faith journeys privately, but just know that we want to make sure that more leaders of tomorrow are prepared for the workforce, and our government is definitely wanting to prepare, you know, many more leaders of tomorrow here, and including Providence. So once again, congratulations on this big milestone. Everyone deserves to access to post-secondary education, but again, the previous failed PC government only made it harder for people to access post-secondary at all institutions in Manitoba, and that would ultimately include Providence. Our NDP government is working hard to make post-secondary education more accessible, so that's lowering costs for students and investing in Manitoba's post-secondary institutions. So, you know, for another example of a post-secondary institution, we partnered with Yellow Quill University to provide degree granting status for its First Nations Bachelor of Education program, because we know it's important to recognize the valuable work of that institution, just like the one Providence of the folks that join us today here. And, you know, during the throne speech, we had some students from Riverbend Elementary School come and sing from the Ojibwe language program. And one of the teachers, student teachers that was here is actually a student at Yellow Quill, and she shared with some of us how this, this partnership with Yellow Quill, now providing the degree granting status, is just totally life-changing, because there were so many different times, like any student in post-secondary, whether it's at Yellow Quill or Providence or any other you know, post-secondary institution in Manitoba, where you at times want to give up because it's just so overwhelming and there's a lot of hurdles along the way. But it's with supportive you know, teachers and educators and colleagues at Yellow Quill and you know, Providence that keep you rooted. And I know that at Providence, having a faith-based education is something that definitely helps folks along the way to feel like they're supported when there's definitely tough times throughout their educational journey. You know, our government's supporting students by investing $10.5 million to Manitoba Scholarship and Bursary Initiative, making $30 million in scholarships, bursaries, and grants available to them. So that's not the wild accusations from across the way saying we're picking winners and losers. That's just available for Manitoba students so that more and more leaders of tomorrow can be successful here in Manitoba. We're investing an additional $100,000 to Research Manitoba to support research, capacity building, and infrastructure investments after it was cut by members opposite when they were in government. So it's pretty easy to make commentary now about things that are allegedly being done, but that's just the fact of the matter, that for 7.5 years, there was freezes and cuts in the post-secondary system. So Budget 2025 invests $10 million for the ongoing expansion of the University of Manitoba campus to train more doctors, for example, and our government values post-secondary education, including institutions located beyond the perimeter, so like Providence University College. So just once again, want to give you folks that joined us today and all of your colleagues back at school, thank you so much for the great work that you do every day to support all of your faculty and students on their faith-based journey through post-secondary, and we look forward to another 100 years or whatever your future looks like. So thank you so much, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Morden Winkler.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Well, it's a great honor for me to stand up today and speak on this resolution, and thanks to my colleague for bringing this forward. Providence University and College and Theological Seminaries, as it celebrates its centennial anniversary, it's made a big impact in many people that I know in their lives and in the community and in our province of Manitoba. So thank you for bringing this forward. As we celebrate the anniversary marking 100 years of faith-centered education and community service in Manitoba, it's a huge milestone, so congratulations. Founded in 1925 as Winnipeg's Bible Training School, Providence has grown from a modest institution into a vibrant university offering wide range of accredited undergraduate, graduate, and theological programs. As Providence celebrates its centennial, we honor the leadership, and thank you for being here today. That means a lot to all of us. We honor the facility, the faculty, staff, and students who educate or whose dedication is driven to its success and who have spent time investing in educating our children, our families, and those in our province of Manitoba. The institution remains committed to expanding its opportunities in education, fieldwork, athletics, the community, and community engagement, ensuring a lasting impression and impact on future generations to come. Providence's impact on Manitoba is profound. The institution has been instrumental in training leaders who serve in churches, schools, and various community organizations across this province. Its commitment to academic excellence and community service has enriched Manitoba's educational landscape and strengthens its social fabric. And I appreciate that specifically. I have young people in my life that I know very closely who have been going to Providence, and the joy that they receive when they go there, they get to take the classes, they get to learn and get their degrees, and they get to enjoy the arts at the same time. One of them specifically has been part of a theatrical group, and she's just loving it, and she just enjoys it, and she was in the group, and now she actually volunteers and helps promote, run the group, so it's really exciting to see. To commemorate this milestone, Providence is hosting a series of centennial events from September 5th to 7th in 2025. I encourage everyone to get involved and participate. The celebration will include a gala at the RBC Convention Center in Winnipeg, homecoming weekend on the Audubon campus, and a special music and chapel service. I think these are such important things for us to engage in and show our support for those that are working hard to educate our young people and our future leaders. As Providence looks to the future, it remains dedicated to its mission of growing students in knowledge and character for leadership and service. The Centennial Celebrations is not just a reflection on the past, but a commitment to continue shaping the leaders who will make a positive impact in Manitoba and beyond, both in rural areas and in the cities. Providence University offers a diverse array of programs that integrate academic excellence with Christian faith. These programs are designed to cultivate both intellectual growth and spiritual development. And this is something that we really need to make sure we offer and continue to support. Providence provides undergraduate degrees in various fields, including aviation, business administration, communications and media, psychology, including different courses where they offer counseling. And we all know that we have a real lack of mental health support workers in our province right now. And this is something we need to really foster and support in our schools and in our universities. They offer environmental sciences, which is something very close to what a lot of people are thinking about right now, is how to make a positive impact in our world. Humanities, English literature, history, philosophy, understanding the human culture and thought, which is something that we really need more of in our province and in this day and age. Intercultural studies. They examine cultural differences and interactions, preparing students for the global engagement and for engaging in those in our very province. These programs are designed to equip students with the knowledge and skills needed for various careers, all within Christian-centered framework. It's something that we really appreciate about Providence College is their faith-based education. Providence also offers specialized programs that focus on ministry and theological studies. For example, a Bachelor of Theology. This prepares students for service in churches and faith-based organizations with tracks in pastoral ministries, youth leadership, worship studies, Christian education, and church administration. They also offer, which is an incredible program, Masters of Divinity. It provides advanced theological education with specializations in areas such as the English Bible, other studies including biblical languages, pastoral counseling, different other studies, and also youth ministry opportunities. These programs are designed to deepen students' understanding of the Christian theology and prepare them for leadership roles within the church and the broader faith of the communities. Whether they're pursuing a career in aviation, in business, media, or ministry, Providence College offers programs that integrate academic rigor with a commitment to Christian values, preparing students to lead with character and faith. And so as you can see, Providence isn't just a Bible school. It is an all-around education that you get, whatever it is that you're looking to go into, you can get your degree and you can have those values that you appreciate or learn more about those values. So I want to thank you very much again to my colleague for bringing this forward. I know that my community of Morden Winkler really appreciates the school. We have many students that go there, and there's many students in rural Manitoba as well as many students from Winnipeg and other cities that attend Providence College. And they've had nothing but great experiences there. And I just want to encourage and congratulate the school for your hard work and for your continued effort to mold and help mold and encourage and build our young youth leaders and for our future. Thank you.
The honourable member for Waverley.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. It's always an honour to rise in this chamber and speak to resolutions and bills, and it's a privilege to rise today in recognition of Providence College as they celebrate 100 years of education and faith and service here in Manitoba. And, you know, as someone with deep Mennonite roots in this province, a tradition that, like Providence, values community and service and faith, I really understand how faith-based institutions can play such a meaningful role in shaping lives and building a better world. You know, my family actually came to this country generations ago in search of a place ultimately where they could practice their faith freely, where they could build communities and raise their families. And in fact, my great-grandfather, J.J. Thiessen, was one of the founding members of what was then known as the Canadian Mennonite Bible College, which today is known as Canadian Mennonite University. So he believed, as so many in our community did, that education that was rooted in faith and compassion could really transform not only individual lives, but entire communities. And he understood that the world wouldn't stay the same, and that if you want your values to endure, you need to make space for the next generation to ask new questions and wrestle with some big ideas, and maybe even challenge old assumptions. And that kind of leadership is really about preparing the ground so others can rise, right? And I also want to just mention that that tradition carried on with faith-based institutions, and my father taught at Westgate Mennonite Collegiate for 40 years. My uncle also taught at Winnipeg Mennonite Elementary School for quite a few years, and I think is back in a role there. So shout out to Doug Pankratz, who's back in as the music teacher there. But you know, I want to say, you know, I was speaking about CMU. I think a quick shout out to the Providence Pilots, the women's volleyball team. Unfortunately, for my family, with the connection to CMU, they beat the CMU Blazers, I believe, in the final just recently. And I know they've gone back and forth with their championships, so both strong programs, but congrats this year to the Providence Pilots for the big win. You know, and I guess on that note, it should be on this 100th anniversary resolution that we're speaking of, I do want to also mention the numerous sports programs that are available at Providence, which I was looking this up. You've got basketball, cross country. I believe they even have futsal, which my son would be very excited about, very much into soccer and futsal, and also volleyball. So these are all exciting athletic endeavors for students to take part in. And I will also note that I know, and we're talking about a bill this afternoon actually about psychological health in the workplace, and recreational activities are such an important part in finding that balance. I know that at Providence College, they have a pretty outstanding disc golf course, and I hope that it's still there on site because I've heard it's a pretty good one. So as I was reading through some of the mission statements and values, I saw so many notes of the spirit I was talking about with my own family. You know, the values and statements commit to diversity of thoughts, of community and exploration, which are values that, you know, when you truly live those out, they demand so much courage and generosity. And it really means more than tolerating difference, right? It means actively creating space for those conversations, for those experiences, ideas, identities that have often been pushed to the margins. And that's why these post-secondary institutions are so important for our province. So looking through some of the course offerings, Providence also, they built a reputation not just for their theological education, but also for some pretty exciting and innovative programs like their aviation program. And I know as the military envoy, I've had the opportunity to hear a lot about the tech space and aerospace, and I know that there's a lot of need for folks to be coming out trained in aviation. I bumped into a friend recently from the fire department who two out of his 3 daughters are actually now working as pilots in aviation, and they're incredible careers for the 2 of them. So I commend Providence on putting forth that program with aviation specifically. So I guess with that, they have a partnership with Harbs Air in Steinbach, which is fantastic. And people come from all over the place to take this course, and they end up trained as commercial or military or medevac or missionary pilots. So it's very, very exciting to me. And I do just want to quickly mention on that note of investment that our minister made a very exciting announcement, I think a few months back now, actually, investing in Magellan and Standard Aero. And I was fortunate enough to go out and tour that plant and see some of the work that Magellan is doing. It's really incredible. And so again, bringing that back to Providence, I'm so happy to hear that they are offering programs like this in a rapidly growing space for our economy here in Manitoba. I will also say, as their mission statement reminds us, and I was enjoying reading through that we're called to grow leaders for a changing world, right? And we know the world is always changing. And new voices emerge, new questions are asked, truths that were once ignored are named at times. And, the leaders that we need today are those who have that flexibility in their thoughts, and understand that leadership means lifting up all people, right? Regardless of who they are, how they pray, or even who they love. And I really commend Providence for having that in their mission statements that I found. So it's leaders who ultimately recognize that freedom means both the freedom to live with dignity and the freedom from prejudice and fear and exclusion. And that, to me, in my personal humble experience, is what faith calls us to, right? And speaking of that, how I grew up, with faith in the family, with the Mennonite background, it really wasn't something that was terribly fragile, right, or meant to be sheltered. It was one of those things that got argued about at the dinner table, and we had some difficult conversations, and it was important. It was something meant to be lived out in public, through acts of kindness and service, and by standing up to those who were left out, or standing up for those who were left out or left behind, right? And it meant opening up doors, extending a hand, right, and building a bigger table, right, where no one had to leave part of themselves outside in order to be welcomed in. And so again, I commend the mission statement of Providence on their 100th anniversary for naming those values in their mission. And as they embark on their second century, I really hope that their community continues to lean into those commitments in word and in action, because ultimately, and we know this in government, the true test of any institution or government or province, really, or a character is not found only in how it serves those who are already at the table, but also in how it makes room for those still waiting for the invitation. And while I never had the chance to sit down and speak with my great-grandfather, I was 2 at the time, I believe, when he passed away, I'd like to think that he would have believed, as I do, that faith and education are at their strongest when they make that space for everyone and all ideas, when they lift up not just those already seated, as I said, but those still on the outside looking in. Because ultimately, I would say true leadership and a sign of a great institution is about building a really big, welcoming table for everyone to sit at, right? And here in Manitoba, and I know at Providence, we're building a province and an institution where freedom and dignity and opportunity are rights for everyone. And that work takes those leaders, ultimately, who see people not as problems necessarily to be solved, but as neighbors to be lifted up and for ideas to be shared. And so I am so pleased today to have had this opportunity to speak on Providence College and their 100 years of contribution to our province. And let's also look ahead, right, to a future that's shaped by some of the values listed in their mission statements of compassion and courage, and the kind of leadership that ensures no one is left behind. So congratulations to Providence College on this remarkable milestone, and thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Steinbach.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity to say a few words this morning to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Providence College and University. And I want to thank my friend from La Vérendrye for bringing forward the resolution. The comments by the member for Waverley, I think, were timely, and I think that they were helpful. And I was glad that they were non-political, because I certainly heard some comments from members from Transcona and Kildona River East, which I think didn't align with the spirit of this particular resolution. And I think we should follow the example of Providence College University in being nonpartisan, in reaching out across all political and other aspects of life. I remember clearly former Liberal Member of Parliament, David Ivtodi, visiting Providence College. I think there's actually a speaker series named after him for some time at Providence. After that, of course, Vic Taves was a strong supporter of Providence. I know that Ted Falk has continued on as well. In fact, members of the chamber, some might remember, but not many, I don't think, that the former NDP MLA for Burroughs, Doug Martindale, brought forward a bill that changed the name of Providence to add university to the name of what was then simply the college. And then, of course, it was talked about earlier on about the former Progressive Conservative MLA, Andrew Mickelfield, who brought forward a bill to give full university recognition to Providence. So you can see how Liberals and New Democrats and Progressive Conservatives have shaped what is now Providence, because they have reached across all political lines, and all political parties have recognized the value of what Providence does. And what Providence does, of course, is more than just providing an academic foundation for its students, although, of course, it does that as well. But it reaches beyond that. And what I've always appreciated visiting the campus, and particularly the students, and having the opportunity to speak at one of their graduations, was that you get the sense that the academic foundation, whether they're going into business or whether they're going to be going to aviation or now perhaps nursing, that those are important, of course, things to give the foundational ability to perform those occupations. But Providence is trying to do more than that. They're trying to ensure that these are good citizens who, when they're going to the workplace, are adding more value than just the work that they are providing. I think if you talk to employers who have employed those who have graduated or gone to Providence, they would say that more than just being proficient in the particular skill that they were trained in, they add something to the workplace beyond that. In the manner in which they conduct themselves, in their collegiality, in their kindness and thoughtfulness for those who are around them. And a lot of those values were developed at Providence. And so I think that that's one of the great things about this particular institution, is it goes beyond just the academic nature of what we look at. I also know that they've done a very good job of expanding their footprint from their foundation into Winnipeg, and they see that as an important part of their future. They want to be part of the revitalization that needs to happen in Winnipeg. We see that through educational institutions. We see that through sporting institutions. And we know that a vibrant downtown Winnipeg is a part of a vibrant Manitoba. And Providence wants to be part of ensuring that the downtown, the core of Winnipeg, is something that draws people to it, rather than stops people from coming to it. So I think that the province and the government should look at that as well. That is also an economic model, and it's also a model to help build downtown Winnipeg beyond just the Audubon campus, which of course itself is a spectacular part of Audubon. And then the issue of international students, of course, this is a topical issue in Canada right now. And I want to separate it from immigration, which I know sometimes is a divisive issue for people, but the issue around training international students is separate and apart from that, and it's a critical for Providence, not just from an economic perspective, although I don't think anybody would deny there's an element of that, but from an experiential perspective of the experience that all students receive when there are those who are coming from other parts of the world to get their training, get their education in Manitoba at Providence. It benefits the entire student life. Many students and the faculty come from the city of Steinbach and the area that I represent. And I know in particular, in speaking to them, that it is part of what Providence is. So I'd encourage the province to recognize that and to consider that when they're doing allocations for international students. So I'll conclude my comments in the way I began them, in a very nonpartisan way, and to say congratulations to Providence College on 100 years. We look forward to celebrating with you later in the year at your gala celebration. We know that God and divine providence has brought you to this point, and we know that in trusting in Him and in that guidance, that you'll have many more years of a success. So thank you, Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity to say those few words.
The honourable member for McPhillips.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. It's a privilege to rise today to put a few words on the record, and I'll start by actually sincerely congratulating Providence College on their centennial anniversary. Certainly a noteworthy and remarkable achievement, considering the fact that they were the first Bible school in Canada to grant bachelor's degrees, and obviously we recognize that post-secondaries have a critical role in our society and our economy, not only creating the future workforce and the employees of tomorrow, but also benefiting society in the way that we understand one another and want to understand some of our challenges in society. There is a space, of course, for faith-based institutions in our society as well. As a personal note, I am sure not too many people know this in the chamber, but I attended a Christian school for 2 years in grades, I believe it was 6 and 7. I attended Faith Academy, and that was quite informative for me to understand some core tenets of the Christian faith. And some of the things that I took away there were the focus on compassion and creating a society where those who are maybe left behind and are unloved, and those who are forgotten perhaps have a space in our society, and just having space within our own hearts to hold compassion for our neighbors. I believe the phrase is love thy neighbor. But I just wanted to also make a note as well, having worked in the post-secondary sector prior to coming to this chamber, I have a pretty unique understanding and appreciation for the role all post-secondaries have in our society, as well as the other universities that we have in our province. My colleague from Waverley mentioned CMU and the important role they have there. So I'm just looking at the clock here, recognizing that we're a little bit short on time, but I just want to close by saying congratulations to Providence on their centennial anniversary. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Seeing no further speakers, is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the resolution? Agreed and so ordered. I declare the resolution carried. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Is there a will of the House to call it 12 o'clock?
Is it the will of the House to call it 12 o'clock? Agreed and so ordered. The hour being 12 p.m., the House is recessed and stands recessed until 1:30 p.m.